you on the map. This is Ron Costa broadcasting live in the Mappable USA studios in Las Vegas, Nevada. And folks, today we're going to continue our discussion on opportunity zones and businesses in particular. And we got a couple of interesting business ideas to bring to the forefront here. So before we get into that, let's talk to Vicky Hutchmala from the Opportunity Zones Authority in the QOZ Marketplace. Vicky, how are you doing today?
Doing fabulous, like every other time, Ron. Getting ready for it to get hot, as it is in Vegas. Going to be up into the high 100 teens, maybe 114, but that's okay. We don't mind.
No,
and today
exactly.
we have a guest that we've had on a podcast before, and we're going to talk about what he's done since the first podcast, something exciting, and let's just go for it.
Yes, we're going full circle on this one, so I'm psyched to get this thing going. Folks, let's introduce Zale Tabakman. He's the president of Local Grown Salads. Zale, how you doing again today?
I am doing great. This is such an enthusiastic place to play. I love it. Love it.
Yeah, well,
we like to comply.
Vegas is an enthusiastic town, so we just thrive on that energy, right?
No matter
I'm going to jump in there for a second. I was recently got married, and my wife loves Ferris wheels, and so we got engaged. Well, actually, we were already married, but we stepped back in time and got engaged at the top of the Ferris wheel in Las Vegas. It was absolutely amazing.
Oh, did you? Oh, the link. I love the link. It's so. That's a neat thing. Congratulations, Zale. Congratulations on getting married. Especially in Vegas.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I recommend anybody who comes to Vegas, do the Ferris wheel. Do the Ferris wheel.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And just so people out there, a little pro tip on the Ferris wheel, you can also get a bar car there where they have unlimited drinks in the car too. So you do that for a half hour. That's pretty cool too.
Yeah, that's a good thing too.
So, in fact, some people may need to drink to propose to their girlfriends at the Ferris wheel. Who knows?
Well, yeah, because you don't want your girlfriend to throw you out of the car.
But anyway, Zale, I know we had you on one of our first podcasts here, and we always like what you were doing, et cetera. But in case somebody didn't listen to that podcast, maybe you can give us a really quick background on yourself and how you got to be where you are right now.
Okay, so terrific. So I am entrepreneur, and I'm originally from Canada, but we're actually operating here in the United States, and we're doing an indoor vertical farming. So we're growing vegetables inside under LED lights inside buildings, and it's got a lot of cool things that it does. It's very good on the ESG front. We get a lot of discussion about that, especially just growing. We're launching in Philadelphia, and doing it in Philadelphia means that we cut by 50% the carbon that's used of the overall cost of carbon to grow vegetables, as opposed to. Right, so I'm kind of babbling a bit. Most vegetables that are eaten in Philadelphia, Washington, New York, Chicago, are all grown in California, Arizona, and in Mexico, and they're shipped to Philadelphia, Chicago, New York, wherever. And so by growing them in Philadelphia, we actually cut down the carbon by half. Of course, there's a improvement of vegetables and quality, everything else. That is irrespective of the opportunity zone part of the play of our structure. That's kind of what we do. I've been working at this since 2014, and so it's a very exciting time to be in it. A couple $1 billion have been raised just in the last year. There's 3 SPACs, each over $1 billion valuation in our space. There's lots to talk about.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do you put your when you're doing a project, when you're putting together one of these vertical farming projects, do you do them in opportunity zones? And then if you do, then do you let the farming project be an opportunity zone business to operate it into the future?
Bingo. You nailed it. That's exactly what we do. We choose opportunity zones to operate, and we set them up. We set them up as a fund, and we do set them up as a 503c. I think I got the letters right, but for qualified investors. But essentially, we set it up only in opportunity zones, and we do it for a couple of reasons. One is the space physically is there. All opportunity zones, especially in urban environments, tend to be old buildings, and they're relatively cheap, and we can put them are in there. And as well, in Philadelphia, they're located in areas where people need work. So we have employees that are there. We're creating economic activity in there. Investors, of course, get the tax breaks that they're all familiar with. There's usually a number of other ones. The one we're setting in Philadelphia is also a new market tax credit space and a few other check marks. So from an investor point of view, it's great, but there's a couple of other advantages. When you're in an opportunity zone, the city loves you, the state loves you, and the Fed loves you.
Oh, yeah.
And you can apply for all sorts of other things. But there's even a bigger thing that we've discovered is big corporations love companies that are operating in opportunity zones. So, for example, we're setting up in Philadelphia. I don't want to speak of the names of big companies there, but there are a number of big universities, eds and meds. And when they find out that the vegetables are being grown in an opportunity zone in Philadelphia, we get a priority over anybody else, especially stuff from California. Because in Las Vegas, would you prefer to buy from a Las Vegas supplier or from a Philadelphia supplier, right? You would always choose local where you can. And if you're a good corporate citizen, and many of the institutions are now, and it's all part of their program, the fact that you're in an opportunity zone in the city gives you a huge marketing advantage over all your competition for all the big customers. And particularly in Philadelphia, the big customers are actually now saying we'll pay a premium, and we'll even go out of our way to help these smaller companies work. You still got to deliver a proper product, and everything else is, your baseline business is there. But you have a competitive advantage already in your city just by doing that, which is something that's coming out in this opportunity zone world that people probably hadn't planned or expected.
Well, and plus, do you hire the residents in the community where the opportunity zone is located, so you're providing jobs to the people that live there, which also is an incentive for businesses, for municipalities and states to offer you additional incentives because you're bringing jobs into the community as well.
But 100%. Our goal is to hire people who can walk to work. That's where we're at. Already we received a grant from I want to thank publicly the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture. They gave us an urban ag grant to help fund our setting up because of that. And one of the important things they said to put in our application was the fact that we were in opportunity zones. That was like a critical factor. So,
and what a concept, Zale, to grow fresh fruits and vegetables in urban center, the middle of the city, in an opportunity zone, providing jobs, but farming in the city. I mean, that's just exciting.
Yeah, it's very, very high tech. I'll give you some of the examples of what it happens. Is we have our first customer. They're currently buying basil. That basil is being flown from South America to the airport in Philadelphia, and then they go pick it up in the airport. So you can imagine the quality issues, the supply issues, cost issues that are going on, and we can provide it locally. So from a customer point of view, they're just blown away. And what we're actually having as a I don't want to call it a challenge, but it's an interesting experience, is that we can grow we're growing some 60 different vegetables, and we're being able to grow things that chefs want but can never get access to. And our customers are having a hard time wrapping around their heads that you can do what? You can do, no, exactly. You can't do that. And then they get tied up, well, is that all year round or is it just in the seasons? No, it's all year round, every single day. You just can order and it'll show up. We had a customer that wants 40,000, that we're talking to, that wants 40,000 pounds of cucumbers a week, right? They're turning those 40,000 pounds of cucumber into pickles. Currently, that 40,000 pounds is essentially a truckload. And right now they're getting those pickles from Texas. Well, I don't know if you remember what happened in the wintertime. I mean, you're talking 114 degrees now. But way back 2 months ago, 3 months ago, everything was devastated in Texas, right?
Right.
So, yes. But all of a sudden, all those problems disappear. And now everything's just local. They can book what they want. They can, indoor vertical farming, they can just, this is why, there's all these SPACs that are, a billion plus, App Harvest, Aero Farms, and the Ponte. I can't remember the last one. Zale Ponte. It's actually a Midwest company that's doing it.
Well, Zale, just think how big of a vertical farming project you'd have to put in Vegas to satisfy all the chefs in all the restaurants on the Strip.
That's right.
Boy, oh boy. I think we should talk about that, Zale. I think that's an idea.
I'm into it. Let's do it.
Yeah. So don't you agree, Ron? Wouldn't that be a best thing?
Yeah. I this whole conversation has me thinking too that Zale, because this is all indoors, and I'm imagining it's climate controlled, and there's all kinds of technology that goes into all this stuff. It could be grown 24/7 all year round, right? There's no down season to this. Is that right?
100. You've got it. That is exactly how we could do it. We can do it all year round. We can grow, strawberries. We can grow tomatoes. We can grow peas, beans. You name it, we can grow it. And we just deliver it. So your delivery time, instead of being days, is hours. Right now, as I just want to mention something, as a Las Vegas person, you're probably very sensitive to what's happening in Lake Mead right now. For those who aren't aware, Lake Mead is the lake that's behind the Hoover Dam, and it's at its lowest point it's ever been. You guys are in a massive drought, and so food supply in California is going to start to be very problematic. And all of a sudden, we're not wasting any water. It's 100. Every water droplet that comes in is used for a vegetable, or it's just recycled internally into the system.
That's interesting
and
too.
No evaporation or anything.
So then,
it evaporates, but we capture.
What are your challenges? What are your challenges on this then? Getting water, right? I would imagine electric is very expensive to use a lot of that. Lighting, right? Or these are all issues that probably cost a lot of money as well to just cost of doing business, right?
Well, it's so the equipment. It's all capital cost up front. Electricity in Pennsylvania, where we're in Philadelphia, is almost like 8 or 9 cents. But we're looking at rolling out a project in the U.S. Virgin Islands where it's 43 cents, and we're still profitable selling at regular prices. So a lot of the cost of food is transportation. And when you say transportation, we're talking about just a simple oil that it costs to move the truck and the food. But then you get wastage and you get losses and a whole bunch of other expenses. So if all of a sudden you remove all those costs, we can actually sell the product at a wholesale level, same price, competitive to California, and Arizona is compared to California. And electricity, it doesn't become isn't that big of an issue because we're so efficient. That was a long explanation to say electricity isn't a big problem.
Right. Well,
you're talking to a nerd here. I apologize for my inner nerdiness coming out.
Well, if you listen to our last couple of podcasts, Zale, we've always been talking about businesses and opportunity zones and how to put a business in there. And then you mentioned, the transportation issue on these locally grown foods. You're doing it in Philadelphia. There's no reason why this concept or even your company couldn't be in every opportunity zone in the entire United States, right? I mean, it wouldn't. Is that like
that's
a growth plan for you guys?
Yeah, that's exactly our plan. We plan on being in every neighborhood in North America. That's our goal. We've built the technology to stable.
Well, one facility could supply the vegetables and herbs or whatever you're growing for that one city, and you wouldn't have to truck anything in. If you're in all the major cities, you're growing your own stuff right there. And especially in opportunity zones, because you're providing fresh fruits and vegetables in areas that don't have all of the modern giant grocery stores, regardless of where the fruits and vegetables come from. They're not there. But if you've got something right there in your community where your people are working in that facility providing nutrition to the people who live there, wow, what a concept is that? It's profitable, it's great, but it gives you a warm, fuzzy feeling as well. That's like the cherry on the top.
Yeah, exactly. So what you described was the concept of food deserts, right, where people have to drive miles to be able to get to a simple supermarket. Yeah. We look at it as revitalizing the neighborhood and creating and then of course you're going to have a whole bunch of spin-off jobs. People will buy our basil and create pesto, or buy the kale and create kale chips, and there's a whole bunch of spin-off. Yeah, that's the vision. That's the vision.
So, are you in the cannabis business?
Nope. Cannabis is just between the three of us. You guys are all from Vegas. You're probably all a bunch of stoners. So you're probably making maybe you're smoking an ounce a month, maybe 2 ounces a month, if each of you. I'll be selling 2 or 3 ounces a day to every single person, right? Of vegetables. There's no money in cannabis. Cannabis is fool's gold. Don't tell anybody I said that. Like it just
no, we won't.
The three of us.
I plead the fifth.
Remember, I'm Canadian. I saw all these cannabis companies go up and down. And no, hemp is a potential. Hemp is the first cousin to cannabis. It's got the CBD. Right. There's possibilities there, but it's going to be years before it's going to be big. I would so many better businesses to be in the short term.
Yeah, and as long as they're going into opportunity zones
around it.
Yeah, but as far as again, let's go sticking to the opportunity zones aspect of this. Zale. Are you developing your own opportunity zone fund for each one of these projects, or do you have a top level fund, or are you just using your
No,
we
set them up each city as a separate fund independently. The idea being that we would attract people for that fund that live in that city. So, for example, Philadelphia, we'd want Philadelphia or local Philadelphia investors who invest in Philadelphia, Las Vegas investors investing in Las Vegas, New York in New York, Chicago, that idea. People who like to invest like to be around the corner for their investments. So it's kind of making a much simpler approach that way.
Well, they want to see where their money's going. They want to drive by and know that they've invested in there. That helps a lot too. So besides opportunity zone funds with capital gains, what do you do? Other types of crowdfunding to raise capital for these projects?
No. We're pure opportunity zones. Qualified investors putting into our as an LP into our investment into our as an LP. We looked at crowdfunding. We looked at and it's so complicated. While I think what I'm doing is just perfect and easy and low risk, in reality, compared to other investments, it is kind of a high risk investment. So we want a more sophisticated investor. somebody who's more clear on what we're doing. Now, we also do sell our technology to third parties. I mentioned the U.S. Virgin Islands. Now, the U.S. Virgin Islands happens to be all in the top opportunity zone, but we're not running a fund there. They're just buying our equipment and installing our equipment and running a business separately for themselves. So,
oh, wow. So you have a two-pronged approach to actually have a project that's an actual vertical farming operation and then sell your equipment to somebody else and let them set it up for their own project. Wow, what a concept for you, Zale.
Yeah. Well, but we encourage them to do it also in opportunity zones. To me, opportunity zones just means massive amounts of financial opportunity for people.
Absolutely.
I just like to remind people, if you had bought Facebook stock and Facebook was sitting in an opportunity zone and you put your $1,000 in and went public 10 years later and you made your $10 million on your $1,000 investment, that would have been 100% tax-free if you'd have done it in an opportunity zone. I don't know why anybody would ever set up a business nowadays and not put it in an opportunity zone, especially with capital gains, especially with all the tax benefits. They're independent of the advantages, like we talked earlier about the city, the state, the feds, of being physically located in an opportunity zone.
Well,
independent of the investment. And then Biden's, there's talk about the Biden administration raising the tax rates to 40%, capital gains rates. Can you imagine? Opportunity zones will be the place.
Well, and if the taxes on capital gains go up, more people are going to invest in opportunity zones just because.
Right. I think it's just, and it's bipartisan, and it's just a win-win for everybody, right? And the real estate is cheaper. You do good by doing good. I love that expression.
Exactly.
Creating jobs and revitalizing. Some of these buildings are just beautiful. I know a couple. Again, I know Philadelphia. I don't know Las Vegas, but I know buildings in pieces of property. I know this 4-acre property in Philadelphia that you can buy for $1 million. We figured out how to make it worth. Put about $3 or $4 million into it. You leverage some investment, and we can make it worth $12 million in a couple of years.
Yeah.
And the opportunities are that's just Philadelphia. They're everywhere. There's Chicago. There's parts of Chicago that haven't seen investment since the 1960s, and they're beautiful buildings sitting there. Detroit. This is a little sidetracking, but it might be of interest. We're doing a lot of things virtually. I have people working for me from India to Vancouver and everywhere in between, guy in Netherlands, and they're all working virtually. I can set up my offices in the middle of North Philadelphia, in an old building, and I have all these people working with me, but that's where my head office is. Qualified as an opportunity zone. My main business is in there. My operating business is in there. I'm talking about not the farm now, and I'm just talking about the business that runs all the farms and does all the sales and everything else. All is sitting in an opportunity zone.
Yes, and like you mentioned before, when you go and sell that business, you're not paying any capital gains on that because that's the real end game of the whole business aspect of the program, which is unbelievable. That is the best part about the whole thing, I think. You got the real estate aspect of it, which you can make a case that it's capped in a way. Like, if you have a multifamily property, you got 300 doors, you can't make money from door 301. It doesn't exist, right? So you can only get those 300 doors. In a business, you can grow that to as large as you can, and there's no cap to that. So I really like that aspect of it. I think you're doing a good job with this too, and obviously it's something that every opportunity zone needs. So your target on this is phenomenal. It's just a matter of executing and getting to that point, which I guess leads to my next question is, how are you getting the word out that local grown salads exist? I mean, who are you talking to in opportunity zones, or how do you get your particular thing in an opportunity zone, let's say Arizona or Las Vegas or LA or something like that?
I just get on the best podcasts I can.
There you go.
We're on the podcast.
Yes. We didn't rehearse that one. But okay.
No, we have LinkedIn. We social. We do a lot of social marketing. We have a email list that we're reaching out to different people. We have a long-term plan, and so mostly we've been focusing in the Philadelphia area with local Philadelphia investors. So people in Philadelphia know about us. And once we're up and running there, we'll have a much more proof of concept and more tangible, and it'll be much more easier for people to think. And also, of course, the next time round, the risk will be reduced. So in Philadelphia, we made our fund has an 8% pref, which is very good, 80-20 split to the investors before and they get paid off before we are. So it's a very, very nice split, and it's very good for the investors, and it represents a fact it's a new fund, first fund setting up. But once we've got Philadelphia up and running, we go to Chicago, Detroit, wherever, the terms won't be nearly as lucrative for the investors.
Right.
Of course, the people invested in Philadelphia will have first right to get at all the other funds that we do, so they'll be able to expand and extend there. But that's kind of how our marketing plan is to do it that way. And the other part that we're doing is we're going to drive it from customers. As I mentioned, in Philadelphia, there are a lot of large customers. And once they'll probably test us in Philadelphia, and they'll say to us, okay, you're in Philadelphia, now I want you in Chicago, or I want you in New York, or I want you in Miami, or I want your supply to supply me elsewhere. And they'll probably pull us to the other cities. And we've also been approached.
Yeah, exactly.
Just there's another part to the financing is we've already been approached. A lot of our cost of setting up is just equipment. And so we've already been approached by leasing companies that will put in money to lease us. So we've already gotten 4 times leverage on the current investment we have. So, we have a certain amount of money in, and for every dollar we raised this capital, we've raised another $3. Actually, it's another $4. So I guess it's 5 times leverage. I don't know how you do that. Now, it's for every dollar we raise, we've got another $4 in loan to match that $1. So every one of those investors, so essentially, you put, say, call it $50,000, we have $250,000 of actual value of equipment and stuff that we're able to buy. So the investors are already doing well because of that leverage. Same thing as, buying you mentioned multifamily, right? The investor usually puts down 20% on them, or 10 to 15 or 10 to 20% on the multifamily, and they borrow the other 80. But their profit margin is on the up value of the entire value, not just on their 20%.
Exactly.
We're doing the exact same thing. Exact same. Again, my inner nerdiest guy into the details, we're doing the exact same thing. Every dollar investment, we're then using it to borrow more, which allows us to buy more. So every dollar gets much more powerful.
Right. And the actual space that you use to do this is it industrial space? Is that kind of what you're looking for?
Yeah, industrial space. Our standard rollout is 15,000 square feet, which produces 15,000 square feet of industrial space. Costs about $2 million worth of equipment, and that will generate about $5 to $6 million in revenue, and with about 20 to 30% EBITDA. It's actually a little higher, but we like to be a little conservative on our numbers.
I'm telling you, if there's real estate agents listening to this right now, they should all be ringing your phone off the hook, Zale, with their listings here. This is a great business to put in opportunity zone. Absolutely, it's so needed, and the profit potential is enormous, and the growth potential is off the charts. So I don't.
But let me give you. You said one of my favorite words, growth potential. Without making it. So the market in Philadelphia for the products that we're selling in our indoor vertical farming, the wholesale value is $1.4 billion a year. That's $1.4 billion. If you were doing cell phones, you were doing all the electric cars, you wouldn't be selling $1.4 billion at the wholesale level in Philadelphia. When we look at our kind of bigger market as from Washington to New York City, and that's about a $12 billion annual market. That's a total addressable market. That's at the wholesale level. We're not, of course, including the retail market and only on the products that we're selling that we know the value of, and that's lower than what USDA projects. We projected a lower value than USDA says that's being sold in that space. Food, fresh vegetables is a massive market, and the nice thing about it is, as a marketing potential, when you eat your food today, guess what you got to do tomorrow? Eat it again.
Some more.
That's right. Again, yes.
And you can't do without it on any day.
You can't do without it. And the market for vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian, flexitarian, and even regular folks, in the fresh space is just growing and growing. So So let me ask you this, Zale. From the time you find a location, how long does it take from the start to getting the project operational and producing food for the community? What kind of period of time are you looking at? Once we've got our process in place, we're talking 2 months. Right now, it's a little slower. Getting stainless steel is a bit of a problem now, and some of the other components. But it's very quick. We just manufacture the equipment, we plant the seeds. Let's say, and then once you plant the seeds, your first harvest is a month later, and then you're harvesting every week after that. Doesn't take very long for a seed to become a vegetable that you can harvest and eat. Because in the field it takes. You don't produce your own construction supplies, do you? You outsource that, and they build them, make them, and send them to you to put them together. We assemble them. We order all our components from regular. Everything we buy, except for some stainless steel pieces, are just off-the-shelf components. They'll come from a lot of the building supplies are actually manufactured in Pennsylvania. We use an aluminum-based technology, which is just extruded. It's physically manufactured. It's off-the-shelf equipment. The only thing that we have to custom make is some stainless steel pieces, and so we go to a stainless steel guy that does that. And then we, in our own factories, we do all the assembly, and then we drop ship to wherever we need to set up. It's very, very quick. A lot of times there might, but you need to get city approvals, like the wiring, the electrical. But we drop it in place, and it's already spec'd out. Yeah, there's a guy, Ray Kroc, which you probably heard of, who did McDonald's. He rolled out 200 McDonald's in the late 1950s, in a couple of years. He didn't have a fax machine. He didn't have internet. He didn't have, cell phones, and he was able to do that. The ability to scale massively quickly has been done by other people, and so we just took all their techniques and did it. Airbnb, scaled, Uber scaled.
And Zale, some of these people actually did that without even being on our podcast. So figure that out.
Just think what'll happen now, Zale.
Yeah, but anyway, listen, we got to close this out. But before we do, Zale, I'm sure people want to talk to you and get some more information on this topic. How do they get a hold of you? What's the best way to reach you?
They can email me, Zale at localgrownsalads.com, ZALE at localgrownsalads.com, or they can find me on LinkedIn, which is probably the easiest, Zale at local, and then just send me a private message there. And that's probably the simplest and the easiest way to find me. I have one of those names that are kind of unusual.
Well, we'll link everything on the show notes as we normally do, so people can find it even easier. But Vicki, I got to tell you, opportunity zones, businesses. We talked about vertical farming, crowdfunding, investments, real estate. Did we tie everything up in this podcast, or what? What do you think about this?
Oh man, this is so exciting because you're right. It's like everything in one little package. And what Zale is doing in opportunity zones is he's developing the distressed areas. He's using the Opportunity Zone program to his best advantage. He's utilizing the incentives from the municipalities and the states to help him build it. People want to invest in it because it's relatively low risk. It's food. You need food. Everybody needs food every day. And it's so exponential because every city in every opportunity zone in every state needs a farm to grow their own food. What a concept. Okay, Zale, Ron and I, we want to build one in Vegas, and we need you to help us.
Okay. Great.
It's all good.
It's
so,
great.
Zale.
It's absolutely great.
Yeah, and once again, Zale, we got to thank you for taking the time out of your day to be on our podcast. It was really great, really informative stuff. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well,
Absolutely.
Thank you. That was a lot of fun. A lot of enthusiasm here. Very exciting.
Yeah. Exactly. So, all right, and Vicki, thanks for co-hosting the podcast with me. Folks, you're listening to the Mappable USA podcast at mappableusa.com. If you go to that website, you scroll down a little bit, you'll see all our syndication sources. Pick the one you like best, subscribe, and you'll never miss another one of our episodes. If you want to be a guest on the show like Zale was today, there's a guest tab there. Fill that out. We'll see what we can do about getting you on the show. And if you like what you heard today, send us an email at info@mappableusa.com. or just leave a comment on whatever page you're listening to this on right now. So thanks for listening. Thanks for your support. We'll be at you next time with another Mappable USA podcast. Have a great week, everyone.